area.
Big in there.
So, remember, this is a solid brick wall, and the soldiers get up here, and they notice a hole in the roof and a hole in the wall. So they start knocking the bricks out of the wall, because if they can make a crawl space, they will take the family through the wall. Take them down the other side of the house and into the south entrance of the cellar on the other side of the house, and that's just what they accomplish. But this was frantic work done by exhausted soldiers, and the family was no better off. They had not slept for 3 days. They're numb. They got a war going on in their yard. Jennie dies in front of them. And they're being hustled to the cellar. Mom says, I am not going to the cellar without both my daughters. So the soldiers oblige her. They take Jennie's body. They wrap her in a quilt. They carry her up the staircase. And when they're ready, they lay her on this exact floor. And then they move her body through the wall and take it into the cellar with the rest of the family. And why was there holes in the house? Because an artillery shell goes through the house, a 10-pound Parrott round. It came from the Confederate line a mile or more away. They were aiming at the Union soldiers on Cemetery Hill, but it fell short. It goes through the roof, it goes through this wall, it goes through the next wall, it gets caught in the overhang on that side of the house, and amazingly it did not detonate, which is a minor miracle in itself. Sure, there was a certain percentage of shells which did not go off when they were supposed to, but this thing went through a double brick wall and didn't explode. That's pretty amazing. And so the soldiers used that to quickly accomplish their mission to get this family into the cellar. Now we are going to walk through the wall, and I'm going to tell you about the family that lived on the other side of this house. And 4 children under the age of 8 years old. So if you notice, it's nothing but women and children in this home. And that's what we have to remember. It was women and children who faced these armies. The men were simply not here. George's husband joined the Union Army. He's gone. Mrs. McLean's husband joined the Union Army. He's gone. Jennie and George's 17-year-old brother joins the Union Army. He's gone. And you couldn't find a guy of military age in this town. It was old men and boys. And so when these women needed their husbands the most, they were not here. And in fact, Mrs. McLean's husband gets killed in Virginia mere weeks before the Battle of Gettysburg. So she is grieving over the loss of her husband. She is struggling to feed 4 children when these armies come in here, and the first thing they do is trample her garden to bits. She had a garden where the gift shop is. They clean this family out of bread. They raid every kitchen which is not guarded, and they eat the livestock. So when those armies left, these people had to dig themselves out of the rubble of the largest battle of the war, and then struggle to feed themselves again. And in those days, if you were a child like Mrs. McLean's and you lost your father, you were automatically considered to be an orphan. You could have your mother standing right next to you, but women did not get paychecks. They were not in the workforce. When the man was gone, the paycheck was gone, and there were mothers who had to suffer from the loss of their husbands and then turn around and give up what children they had to the state because they could not feed them. And so these were the pressures on Mrs. McLean to try to feed her family with a broken heart in a yard and a town which is nothing but a desolate battlefield. It was really brutal times for both of these families. Now we're going to go down the other staircase to the kitchen below, and you are going to see the actual artillery shell that went through the house along with a floorboard that Jennie was standing on when she died. So when you are ready, you may So the artillery shell weighed 10 pounds. It's cast iron filled with black powder coming out of a Parrott cannon with a 3-inch bore, and if it explodes, it's going to send cast iron shrapnel everywhere. And even though Jennie died 150 years ago, she bled so much, it is all over the board. If you look at the top of the board on the left, you see this light shading. That is very old blood stains, and her blood ran along the crevices of the board. So if you look at the edge of the board, it looks like somebody ran along the edge of the board with a faded black magic marker. Those are 150-year-old blood stains. And almost the entire edge of the board is shaded. And then on the wall on the left is Jack Skelly, that's Jennie's boyfriend. On the right, Wesley Culp. Now these three grew up together, and when the war comes, Jack joins the Union Army. So there he is in his Union uniform. But his best friend in the whole world, Wes, joins the Confederate Army. And so that is the Civil War in a nutshell. And Wesley's own brother joins the Union Army. And when we go in the cellar, you are going to hear a narration about what did happen to Jack and what Wesley's fate was. So I think it's great that we have their images so you know what they look like when you hear the stories about them. The mustachioed fellow on the wall over there is Kenneth Lewis, who was George's son born on the other side of the house. That's him in his 30s. The letters on the door here are between Jack and Jennie, so that is their actual handwriting. And then our next stop will be in the parlor. So yes, the furniture is nicer on this side. These are reproduction pieces, and we were trying to show that this family had some more money than the other family, being that they were in their 30s versus people in their 20s on the other side of the house. The clock on the mantle was on this side of the house during the battle. It was given to us by the descendants of Mrs. McLean. So it is a silent witness to exactly what happened in these rooms during those 3 days. And it is set at 8:30 because Jennie died 8:30 in the morning. On the wall opposite in the center is a photograph of Mary Wade, Jennie and George's mother. On the right is Georgia later in life, and on the left is Jack Wade, their 17-year-old brother, in his Union uniform. So Jack does survive the war, as does George's husband, but Mrs. McLean's husband, Isaac, does not survive. And when Abraham Lincoln came here to dedicate the cemetery, he wanted Georgia on the grandstand with him. Georgia was reluctant. She wasn't sure about that, but her family encouraged her. They told her it was important, so she got up there, and she was present when he delivered the Gettysburg Address. Now we will go into the cellar, and there are benches to sit on when we get down there. So when you go outside, you may go directly into the cellar. And again, this is what the soldiers had to do to bring the family to safety.